Hello and welcome to Teacher's Talk. I am Arjun Diksha and this is a show where we step beyond the classroom and get to know the people behind the lectures, the notes, and the lessons that stay with us long after college. Today's episode is a special one. Our guest is Ivan Sir, a teacher, mentor, and presence who has shaped countless student journeys at Sophia and who now begins a new chapter as he retires from the college. This conversation is also special for another reason. It marks the final episode of our Radiohead, Sashrika, who will be co hosting with me today. As both of them prepare to leave Sophia in their own ways, this episode becomes less of an interview and more of a shared reflection. Well, with that said, I will hand it over to Sashrika to take us forward.
Thank you, Diksha. Ivan sir, first of all, I am deeply grateful for this opportunity to host this episode with you as our guest. While writing this introduction, I went through a lot of emotions and I hope I can articulate them well today. For those who do not know who Ivan sir is, he's a sociology professor at Sophia College, but limiting sir to that title would not be doing justice to him. Beyond the classroom, sir wears multiple hats. Every year, in collaboration with the World Music and Dance Club, Sir conducts music theory course at two levels. Along with this, he's deeply involved in the extracurricular activities of our college and plays a key role in organizing the Junior College Talent Day. He also is kind enough to lend his voice to us in a character for our first ever episode in radio drama last year. And sir, if I may add personally, your Bharatnatyam performance on college day this year was truly unforgettable. As a Bharatnatyam dancer myself, watching you perform with such grace and ease that day filled my heart in a way I cannot fully put into words. Sir, I know this introduction is long, but it would be incomplete if I don't mention what you have done for the queer community in our college. I still remember sitting in the canteen extension and listening to my friends talk about the Pride Day celebration during their junior college day years. Dressing up in pride flag colors, painting each other's faces, celebrating freely. Even though I was not a part of this day, I felt the fact that this space existed in this campus impacted me so much. And these are just few moments I have experienced in the 3 years of my college. I'm pretty sure there's so many others who must have had similar experience and their life has been shaped and touched by you and your teaching and presence. And for them, I want to just say thank you, Ivan sir.
Thank you so much. Thank you for those generous words of introduction. And I'm sure we'll look forward to many more snippets that come through this interview.
So now there are just a few questions because Teachers Talk as a show is a show which is known to get to know the professors a little more personally. So if you don't mind, can we get to know you in a bit more informal manner?
Sure, definitely. No problem.
So let's begin. Diksha, do you want to go ahead with the questions?
Yeah, sure, I would love to. So, sir, my first question is what's next for you? What have you planned for the future if you don't mind to share?
Right. So when I retire, well, officially I have. And when I do finally, I guess, leave the campus, my plan is to first complete my ongoing research thesis. And then I have this intention of wanting to learn to speak French better. And so I've decided to study at the Alliance and commit myself to learning French. I also plan to continue studying anthropology and get back to something that's very dear to my heart, and that is back to music. That's back to piano studies. I will also continue teaching music.
That's really amazing and sweet to hear. I would like to ask you that, as you said that you would like to continue to teach music, where exactly are you planning and how it has to be executed?
I've been in Mumbai for the longest part, for almost half a century now, a little over. And all my music learning has happened in Mumbai. And I have made this decision to continue living in Mumbai post-retirement. And so I'll continue to teach music, specifically piano and theory of music in Mumbai.
If you hadn't become a sociology teacher, what profession do you think you would have loved to pursue?
Honestly, I think sometimes I should have been in the government department. I think on my table all the files would have moved. So I'm very good at clerical work, at organizing data and putting them in certain ways. And I think I would have been a very good clerk somewhere.
Oh, that's a really not so usual dream a person can have, but it's really nice, I feel. So, my next question is, how has your journey been at Sophia College as sociology teacher?
Well, when I started way back 20, well, not 20, sorry, 32 years and 8 months ago, it started off as a teacher who was preparing every single lecture, perhaps over preparing. But I think in the end, the hard work has paid because the preparation for class, the thinking process that it involves and demands, and finally engaging with each new batch of learners, right from 1993 till date, has been a fantastic journey. Sure, there were challenges in between. Student profiles change, student interests change, commitment to learning, personal motivations of learners can change and do change. So one has to learn to adapt to a changing generation. Because I can't say, well, I'm a fossil out there who's trying to teach a generation that's 30 years younger than myself. So I've also had to change. And I think that's exciting as long as one is willing to change and adapt to a changing environment and still try and keep some kind of standard of teaching and learning and engagement with the audience.
I think that is the reason why all the students love you so much. I'm really intrigued about your interest in music. So, could you tell us more about your interest in music and the performing arts?
Right. My interest in music began with me being a student in school, Standard 4, and I learnt in English literature about the boy who loved music. And at that time, the lesson was all about George Frederick Handel. And little did I know that he was a real musician, but I was so in awe of what happened in his life. And I really thought to myself that I'm going to be playing in front of the Queen. And I wanted to be a musician of that kind and stature. And so I told my parents that I wanted to learn music. We were a family where we sang at church, in choirs. My dad used to play the guitar. And so as soon as I told my parents about the fact that I want to study music formally, it was a yes. And in Standard 5, I started my piano studies under the tutelage of Kathleen Taylor-Smith, who was a trained music teacher. And there's been no looking back ever since, because I then studied for about a good 20 years under 3 other teachers. And it was just getting better and better, learning, experiencing, widening my musical horizons. And then when I did music, I did the formal examinations of Trinity College of Music London, the Associated Board of the Royal Schools of Music London, the London College of Music. So I acquired their licentiate diplomas in teaching and performance, as well as a theoretical music diploma. So all of these enriched my interest and understanding of Western art music. And that has been one side of my music journey. Alongside it, I was also a church musician, and I started out to this church as a church musician essentially when I was part of the school choir in Mumbai, and I was in a boarding school, so there was a lot of music making in a very conventional church system, and so there was a lot of music making. And when I reached Standard 8, the organist and choir director shifted to another school, and I was just pushed into the organist seat, just like that. From tomorrow, you're going to be playing. That was hugely challenging, but I took it up and I think I did a good job as well. Because I had to prepare for every day's service, the music for the service, on the night prior. And I was just a beginner music pupil, effectively. This was like 2 years after I started piano studies. So it was a daunting task. At the same time, I said I have to do it because I had to do it. The principal said, you're going to be playing from tomorrow. And so I sat and prepared, practiced for every single service. And we were a school which had service 6 days a week, twice on a Sunday. And so that was part of my music making at the church level. And that has continued till date because I still continue to be the honorary organist at the All Saints Church, Malabar Hill. So it's been more than four decades of church music making. And I can still go on, and so I shall. Well, during my college years, especially first year BA, second year BA, and third year, I grabbed every opportunity to make music, whether it was playing for a Hindi film song for college hostel day, or whether it was for the Christmas services at Wilson, or whether it was training the choir at college, and performing as a pianist and accompanist for various other choirs within the city. So there were a lot of exposure during those undergrad years. And around then, I also decided to start teaching music. So I taught it for free for many, 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 many years. I've forgotten how many. And then finally, I decided I'm going to start charging a professional fee. Now I'm expensive.
That was really an inspiring journey to hear from you. Do you want, if you don't mind, like, could you share a small lesson or something like part of your music which you have learned, which is like really close to your heart?
A lesson? Or like a lesson that I've
A
learned?
small part of a lesson or anything.
Well, an anecdote. I remember my music teacher had told me at one point to learn a particular piece, and I started learning it. And after a couple of months of working at it, and I was playing pretty okay, but something was definitely lacking. And then I remember her telling me, you know what, I think we'll just put that piece aside. I never understood then why she said that. But in hindsight, I realized there is something called musical maturity. And that doesn't come by just passing examinations and getting your top scores. It comes through your own commitment to reading and widening those horizons and immersing fully in what one is committed to learning. And I remember going back to that piece maybe about 3 or 4 years later, and it made so much more sense. I was playing it better. I could feel for myself that this Ivan playing it today was playing it far better than when he had attempted that piece 4 years prior. So that's an anecdote which talks about musical depth and commitment. Without that, it doesn't work.
That was really amazing to hear from you. So my next question is, what is your favorite part about organizing Talent Day for college students, junior college students? Is there a moment that has stayed with you?
Actually, I can't remember whether I actually organized it or I was on the part of the organizing committee. There was a team of teachers. It wasn't my show, as it were. It was a whole lot of people who did it. And of course, it stemmed from discussions around the need to showcase the talent of our learners on Sophia campus at the junior college level. And so through those discussions emerged the need to have a talent day, because there's plenty of talent, plenty of it. And we just need to push it in a direction whereby students can get up there and present. So I was part of the organizing committee. I was not the sole organizer of the event, but that's been a superb hit event for junior college students ever since it was started. I think probably less than a decade ago. And it has grown to get better. And I think we can proudly say, despite the fact that we have a pathetically low budget, or no budget, to be very honest, we still managed to get our students to put up a fantastic, rocking 2 hour packed entertainment with fantastic, almost professional comparing. Singing is not as good as I wish it could have been. Solo dances, group dances, and the fashion shows. Wonderful.
So the next question is something I really wanted to ask because I love the college song and I wanted to know how was your experience recording the college song along with your students?
Oh, that was lovely because number one, I always wanted us to have a recording of the song because over the years I've figured out that the tune of the song had changed, much to my dismay. And that's because generations of Sophia students did not quite pick up the tune because we've not sung it that often. I think we sing the song on specific occasions like, I think, Prize Day, College Day, and singing just twice or 3 or 4 times a year doesn't do much to enable all 3,000 of us who are here to pick up the tune correctly. And very often it's last minute. And so those who can sing or who think that they can sing come forward and they sing something, and for the most part they were singing wrong. I'm very clear about that. And so I said this has to be done right. And I was very happy when I presented this idea to Principal Anaga. And I said, we need to record the college song. The English version, because I'm a little more familiar with it. And so she said, we got to go ahead. We had the funding, RUSA funding, I think it was. And we have our studio. The next big challenge was to get singers. In a college of 3,000 girls students and women students, it was not easy to find 7 people. And 7 people who can come together to practice, an even bigger challenge. Because there are students in the degree college who've got morning lectures, junior college has an afternoon shift, kind of. When do we meet? That was a huge challenge, has always been. Every time I wanted to do choir at Sophia, how do I get students to come together at a common time? Because there is no common time. And not everybody who comes in at 7:30 in the morning is willing to stay on till 3:30 in the afternoon. That's not fair to them. And somehow, anyway, we managed to get, I think most of the singers were from the hostel. They are always the scapegoats, I guess. But they were willing singers, and that's the great thing. And so we had the hostel singers, and there was one day student. And we sang in practice, literally pre-8 o'clock, kind of 7:45, 50 in the morning. And then a quick shot at around 2:33-ish. And we did that for a bit. And then we did the recording. And for the recording, one of my friends, Shantanu, we had gotten in touch with him, the principal did. And so that's how we got Shantanu's help to set up the studio to do this recording. And the students did a good job of it. We got them to sing the tune the way it's meant to be sung. I have the music score, the melody written down in staff notation. And so we knew that we were all on the same page and we sang it. I didn't sing, they sang it. And the only thing I missed was having a real keyboard, a real piano, sorry. Because I would have loved to play it on the piano. But of course I had to make do with a keyboard. And that's a big difference. For a pianist, a piano is a piano, a keyboard doesn't match up. You know, for somebody who loves piano first. Well, yeah, so that's the thing about the college song, and that project got over then, and now I'm hoping to get the Indian version of the college song recorded. That's the other agenda that I have, hopefully in the next 1.5 months. That should happen.
Honestly, sir, I love the college song and I believe that the Indian version would be as great as the current version is. My next question is quite quirky. What is your most favorite and least favorite thing about being a teacher?
Oh, yes. The most favorite thing, I can say this with all my heart and soul, is meeting my students, going to class every day. That's the best thing ever for me. The worst thing, I hate it to the core of my heart, taking attendance. I just hate it.
I think that's the case with every teacher, I feel.
No, there are many teachers who don't like correcting papers. I love correcting papers. And they say, you're abnormal, you're mad, but that's okay. I love correcting papers. I'm pretty good at it and fast.
No, I was talking about the attendance part.
The attendance bit. Yeah.
Many teachers I saw that they hated. Okay, so my next question is, what are your thoughts on Gen Zs becoming teachers? Like, what changes do you think they might bring?
I think they'll bring stuff to the classroom that is more relatable too. They'll do things in more funkier ways and probably use technology to make lessons more alive and come alive. They'll definitely refer to ChatGPT and AI, which is the bone of contention. But that's here to stay and it's not going to go away anywhere. And so we just have to get used to adapt to that new kind of technology. And I think a Gen Z teacher would use AI to make lessons come alive. I think there's a lot of promise. Yeah.
I was hoping to hear about ChatGPT, honestly. Okay, so my next question is, what creative practices have you implemented or encouraged in the last few years?
Well, one thing I have done, not regularly, but I have used is role playing, where I would get a bunch of students to go out to the class, prepare a little skit in the minimal possible time, because a lecture period for us is like 40 minutes. And they would go out with a topic, maybe a little description, and they would go out, prepare, come back and perform. And there would be 3 groups which would be sent out. And if they went out and they did their preparation in 10 or 12 or 15 minutes, and they came back and performed it in like 2 or 3 minutes, and then we have a discussion about what we saw and what we gained from the experience of dramatization. I haven't done that in the last 3 batches, but prior batches I have done that. That was the creative way of doing things. It's not something so terribly modern, because teachers in the past too have done it. But given our structure and system and syllabi and time slots and furniture that is so fixed and static, one has to work around what is available.
I think that is one of the best practices I have heard, because I have never had one such, so it was amazing to hear. Well, that's a question that what I had for you. Now I would like to pass my mic to Sashrika for further questioning.
Sure.
I love this relay that I and Diksha are playing. But our next segment is this or that, where I will ask you 2 options and I would like you to choose either this or that.
And do I have to say why I choose this or that?
Absolutely.
I have to.
If you don't wish to, you don't. If you do wish to give a justification, you are more than welcome to.
Okay.
So there are I think 10 questions. So are you ready?
Yes, I am.
So the first one is life without music or life with music?
With music for sure. Music is the food of love. So play on. I think that's some quotation somewhere.
But also life without music or life without movies?
Without music and without movies. No, I'd rather have life without movies. I can do with it. I can live with it.
Staying in or going out?
Going out.
Staying
in is boring. I like getting out. Yeah.
Absolutely. Indian classical or Western classical?
Western classical, because that's something that I've grown up with. So there's that little bias.
Teach gender studies or technology and society?
Gender studies for sure.
Your junior college students or your senior college students?
Now you put me it's junior college students, because my heart is with those young learners. You all have grown up to be who you are and you all will blossom and bloom. But those are that, formidable years of one's young adolescent years when you're just stepping into from
Adulthood.
one side to the adulthood phase of life. So yeah, I want to be with those
Junior
students.
college. Podcast or music playlist? And if you choose music playlist, can you share few recommendations?
So I will not say music playlist. Podcast, but I don't listen to too many anyway. Yeah.
But who is your favorite podcaster?
No, I can't even answer that question because I've listened to so little that I can't even decide that there is a ranking amongst them.
Early bird or late owl?
Early bird, for sure.
I don't think I could relate to that.
No. I used to go to sleep when I was in college. I used to sleep at 9:30 in the evening. And life only came about on the floor around 10 o'clock in the night. And I would wake up at 4:30 and I used to get these numerous notes, sometimes even poetic, basically asking them to wake them up. From all my fellow hostelers who were on the floor. Yeah, and beautifully written, affectionately written, sometimes even poetically written, and the little scripts of paper, and I kept all of those until I burned them all away. Anyway.
So, but before I ask you the next this or that, I wanted to ask, in this generation, we have a lot of assignments, which most of us, I think, stay up at night and do.
Mm-hmm.
So how, if you were an early bird, how did you manage your college assignments and like, everything without staying up?
One thing is, if I had my tons of assignments to submit, I would start working on them as soon as they were given to me. I'm not one of those who wake up at the 11th hour, for sure. But I know also teachers, many of them drop the assignments literally
At the 11th
at the eve of your submission date. And that's not fair to the learner at all. And then, of course, there are the pressures and all of that. So if I were to do assignments, I'd do it systematically right from the beginning. And I wouldn't copy and paste. It's just not me. It doesn't work for me.
Next
Original.
One is cats or dogs. Are you a cat person?
I think more a dog person. Cats just sit quietly and curl up in one corner.
I think most of my listeners will agree you're giving very golden retriever vibes.
Oh dear.
Have the ability to read minds or speak to any creature.
Read minds or?
Speak to any creature. The ability to speak to any creature.
You mean any creature?
Like, yeah, any insect, animal, bird, human being, anything.
I would go with reading minds. And then, of course, even falter as a result because I'm not a mind reader. So, all your prejudices and stereotypes that one has about people and behaviors could also come to the fore, and that cannot be always necessarily good.
Correct.
But I do speak in French to street dogs
You
occasionally. Do? Yeah, just to rehearse the little bit of French that I do know. I would speak, allez, vas-y, qu'est-ce que tu veux?
And do they understand?
Not, they really don't understand. I think they just want a biscuit or a rusk.
That's so true. And my last one is, are you a nostalgic soul or live in the moment person?
Nostalgia is there, but I don't like to get too wrapped up with it. Though it's there, it's part of us as human beings. And what's the other one?
Are you a live in the moment person?
Well, I'm also a live in the moment kind of person.
But which one do you think?
Then I would think I would go with nostalgia. No. Because, well, there are lovely thoughts to think about, and that can be inspiration for something further.
Absolutely.
That way.
So I'll also take up the next segment, which is audience question segment. So there are few questions that have come in anonymously, which I will show you, and you get to answer any one of them or a few of them.
So I have to read them.
If you wish, yes.
Unless I read the question, how would you know what I'm being asked, right?
So you can read. So we would love you to answer most of them, but you can pick up. You can answer 2, 3, 5, as many.
And
as
I could
wish.
answer them all as well, right? If
Absolutely.
I think I know what to say. But I would read. May I read the question or the?
Yes, please.
Which place or country would you like to visit or travel to in the future after you retire? There are only two places that I would like to go after I retire. One is to Bahrain, which is my birthplace.
Ooh.
And I'd also like to go to Bhutan and Sri Lanka, which are in the neighborhood around India. Nowhere else. Yeah, within India, I'd like to travel to many places that I haven't visited yet. But I'm not thinking of international travel otherwise. A favorite food or beverage that I can't do without? Chai. I'm a chai freak. I drink tea at any given hour of the day. My going rate is kind of 7 cups a day. Without sugar. All right.
Justifiable.
Sava. Do you have any inspiration or favorite book that you could suggest to your listeners? I've read so many books I've even forgotten all their names.
But
the one that comes to my mind is The Road Less Traveled.
I think that's a poem also.
Is that right? I wouldn't remember that.
If I'm not wrong, it's a poem by Robert Frost.
Robert Frost.
Yes.
Are you a member of any organization or group outside college? Yeah, I am a part of a group called Mumbai Teenagers, which is a group of men who are above 50
Mm-hmm.
and who identify as queer.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one organization that I'm a part of. Yeah, I think that's the one organization I'm a part of. And the Teachers Union for the junior college. But I'd soon not be part of that.
Oh.
What creative practices we've done that? Being queer. Spelling of being? Double E. Okay. Being queer in my generation. In my generation, well, I come from a space where we never spoke about our queerness in my student days. In fact, I didn't even know the labels LGBT. It didn't exist. The acronym, at least I didn't know about. And so everything was just hidden. We never spoke about who we were. But as I came to my subject and my discipline of sociology, that's when I became aware about gender. And from gender and women's movement and feminism, branched out to thinking about other identities other than man, woman, boy, and girl. And that went the LGBT and that spectrum. So I think being queer in my generation and space, yeah. So my student days, nobody even talked about it. And I'm sure they had many, many prejudices about it in school. College was a more happening space. Yeah, I was at Wilson. And that's when I also opened out and had the freedom to move around and be a part of organizations like the Gay Bombay Club as well as Humsafar Trust in different measures. So that was very good because that just opened my ideas of the fact that I was not abnormal or a mistake and just I was who I was. And so being queer and in my early years at Sophia College, I don't think I spoke so much about my being queer, but I had many students who wanted to do projects on the subjects of homosexuality or transgender or hijra community right from way back then. So I had learners who were definitely younger than me and who came up with these topics, and we definitely explored that, and that also forced me to read a little bit more. But I also remember, having said that, there was not much to get access to in terms of data because books were so really, really few to access. And it's only after the 90s that the market opened up to literature and data and articles and you name it, and the World Wide Web for data surrounding gender, sexuality, and so on. And that's when discussions became a little more open. Dostana, even though the film Dostana did a lot to kind of push the stereotype of the gay person, at least because it was a film which was out there, families started going for the film, and the discussions around sexuality or being gay was out there in the open. Even though the stereotypes were there, at least people were now talking about it. So films like those, I mean, every film doesn't always do the right thing about so many things. But those discussions came alive, and these discussions came to the classroom as well. And I think it's important for us to connect the real world in which we live with what we discuss in class, especially as a social science teacher. Your favorite thing about teaching at Sophia College is the autonomy that I've always enjoyed as a teacher within the classroom. Nobody has ever stepped into that space in all these years and told me what to do or what not to do, or you can't do that, and I wouldn't listen anyway. I'd still do what I want to do. What's the one quote or saying that never left you? I don't know what it's a saying, but not a quote, but I'd like to say just be authentic. Not the facade, knock off the charade, get off the mask, but just be you. Because when you are you and authentic, students get it, and you feel better because you're just being who you are. And I think that's important. It's not an easy path, though. Well, I think I've covered all the
Yes, so you have
questions on that list.
Those were our audience questions, and coming to the end of this episode, so
Oh,
so thank you so much for patiently answering all of our questions and taking the time to be with us on this radio today. Before we wrap up, is there anything you would like to say as your goodbye message to the college?
yeah. As a goodbye message, I would like that our learning environment is even more learner oriented, with all of you learners at the center of everything that we do, whether it's a curricular event or something that is co curricular or a national day event. Get the students involved, get them to do things, and make it something that is truly the learner and which enables the learner grow, develop, think differently, ask questions, divergent thinking, all of that. It should be a happening environment. It should not be a comfortable space. And the more discomfort that those kinds of experiences bring to this environment, I think we will all grow and change and adapt. And that's the real world. Okay, so that's what I like. Authentic.
And that brings us to the end of today's episode of Teachers Talk with RJ Diksha and Sashrika. This episode was co-written by Sashrika and Shaivi, behind the scenes covered by Isha, and recorded by Siyana. Thank you so much for tuning in. Until next time, you are listening to Teachers Talk only on
Voices of Sophia.